Call to order the meeting of the Greenwood Common Council on Wednesday, November the 7th. And if you would please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing, and we'll be led in prayer this evening by Ken Hall, chaplain of the Greenwood Memorial Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 5864. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. My name is Ken Hall. I'm the chaplain of the DFW, as was previously mentioned. I'm a former Army infantry officer, and I've got a guest with me. He can't stand up, but he's at the back, Dylan Sutton, a sergeant in the Army, active duty. He's done a tour in Iraq, and he just got elected last night, our junior vice commander. So I'm extremely proud of this young man. Please remove your caps if you have any caps on, and bow your heads. Oh God, Father of us all, we thank you for our many blessings, and please forgive us of our many sins. Please bless all who have gathered here tonight as we strive to honor you, as well as help provide guidance to help improve the greater Greenwood community in which we live. Living such lives of stainless integrity that reflects graded upon our God and country. Also, we wish your blessings on all veterans as we approach November 11th, both past, present, and those who even now guard the gates of freedom. For all these things we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. As we do approach Veterans Day, I'd like to echo Mr. Hall's statement and sentiment. Thank all the veterans. If any veterans are here, if we have any veterans here this evening, would you mind standing? Thank you very much. We appreciate your service to our country. With that, roll call.
Armstrong.
Here.
Bates.
Present.
Campbell.
Here.
Dine.
Here.
Foster.
Present.
Gibson.
Here.
Hill.
Here.
Hopper.
Here.
Lexi.
Here. We have a quorum. All of you should receive copies of the minutes from our last regular meeting on October 15th. Do I have a motion? So moved. Motion by Mr. Bates. Second? Second by Mr. Dine. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing in roll call on the minutes.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Abstain.
Lexi.
Aye. Minutes are passed on a motion, vote of 8-0 with one abstention. At this time, we set aside a few minutes for audience requests. So if you're here tonight, a member of the audience, would like to address the council in regards to anything concerning city business, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record. I would ask that since we do have a public hearing on ordinance 1837, that if you're here to talk about that, you wait till the public hearing. Thank you. Mr. Marmaduke.
Hi, I'm Dale Marmaduke, 53 Pilgrim Drive, Greenwood, Indiana. And I would like to speak out against the ordinance 1841, the river front development, or basically the alcohol expansion bill. I strongly against this, and I hope that you will, after considering it, agree with me. Giving out more permits decreases the value of the permits you already have out, as pointed out by Mr. Armstrong The laws of economic, countless examples, common sense clearly show that additional alcohol establishments do not house cities. I don't believe that any person actually thinks a high-class restaurant would come when anywhere near a place where you have basically unlimited alcohol permits. The policy reduces the value of every current and future restaurant and bar that serves alcohol. The non-exclusiveness of the additional permits is very low. The possibility of a high-class dining restaurant is lower than the possibility of a low-class alcoholic dive when you're giving out these permits. And really, most residents in Greenwood don't want more bars and, quote, high-class restaurants with alcohol problems. I think we should look what we currently have and, work to stop on Planetary Brewing. It's a sorry semi-boarded up building with missing roofs, and no high-class restaurant wants to get anywhere near that eyesore. And just walking by what we currently have, the Pine Gate, which is going to reopen and put Planetary Brewing even further in the hole. Giving more is not a good thing, and where in Greenwood would you put a high-class restaurant that needs another permit? Which of you council members really want to tell your parents, children, and grandchildren that they work to open up the city to more cheap bars? And I ask that you not believe developers and their claims. I ask that you think this stuff over. The current state law on alcohol permits is there for a reason, based on experience and bad results with too many bars, as Detroit will demonstrate. Places where we have all these bars are just places where nobody wants to go. So I kindly ask that you not pass this ordinance. The city does not need additional alcohol permits. So I thank you for letting me speak, and I hope that you will kindly not pass that ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to address the council at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports. Corporation Counsel.
You all should have received the semi-monthly item report and the litigation report, and if you have questions, do contact me.
That's right. Anything from the Controller's Office?
Nothing this evening.
Any other committee or board reports? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. First reading, ordinance 1837.
An ordinance annexing certain territory contiguous to the city of Greenwood, Indiana, placing it within the corporate boundaries and making it a part of the city of Greenwood, and redefining the corporate boundaries of the city of Greenwood, Indiana to include approximately 100 acres located north of Tracy Road between Honey Creek Road and County Road 125 West, commonly known as the Christian Doherty Properties annexation, sponsored by Bates.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bates. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lexi. This is scheduled for a public hearing this evening, so we will open it up for a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against ordinance 1837, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Mr. Prime.
Good evening. For the record, Eric Crime, Van Baylor Law Firm, on behalf of the petitioners, the Christian and Doherty families, as well as the developer, Lennar. What we're here about this evening is an annexation and rezoning petition for the subject site that is in front of you. It's about 100 acres on the southwest edge of the city. The city's current boundary is on the northern edge of this blue parcel that is outlined on this slide. Okay, we are looking to have this piece annexed into the city and then rezoned to allow for single-family homes. Our builder and developer for this site is Lennar. They were previously known as Cal Atlantic for a short time, and before that, Ryland Homes. They've been in the Indianapolis market since 1974, which makes them, I think, the oldest national builder that's been in this market, so that's nearly 45 years. Lennar is a publicly traded company. They are the largest builder in the United States, and they were named the 2018 Builder of the Year by Builder Magazine. This particular site is made up of two parcels, the Christian property and the Doherty property. Those families have consented to the annexation and the rezoning. This parcel stretches from Honey Creek Road on the west to 125 on the east. The total property acreage is 100 acres. The Christian parcel is about 39. The Doherty parcel is about 60. It is currently in the county, and the current zoning is mixed zoning of R2 residential, which is different from the city's R2. About 76 of the 100 acres are zoned R2. That allows for 50-foot wide lots with no minimum lot size. Minimum 1,000 square foot ranch and no architectural standards are in place for the county. This would be approximately 3.5 units per acre if it were developed under the current zoning. Well, a few weeks ago, when this petition was filed, it was brought before the Plan Commission with the petition asking to be rezoned to R2A with a then total of 248 home sites. All of the lots in that proposal were 70-foot wide lots, and though they committed to complying in all respects with the Greenwood architectural standards, those standards allow for vinyl at the .047 gauge, and the plan was for that subdivision at that time to have vinyl siding as permitted by the city standards. We met with obviously the neighborhood group, invited everybody that received notice of the rezoning and annexation to come to a neighborhood meeting. We got feedback from them. We presented this to the Plan Commission. The Advisory Plan Commission did not like the plan, and the neighbors didn't like the plan. So with the feedback from the Plan Commission and the feedback from the neighbors, we have revised the plan. Jump ahead here. There's the zoning that I discussed. Sorry, I didn't keep up with the slides here. The R2 and the ag kind of slice across the property in an odd fashion. This was the original plan that was presented to the Plan Commission, and it called for, as I said, 248 home sites, all 70-foot wide lots, and vinyl siding to be permitted. This is the revised plan. We have divided the parcel basically along the Doherty and Christian property lines because there's a natural tree line, as you can see, that bisects the property there. We're going to make every attempt to preserve that tree line as a natural break between the subdivisions, or between the neighborhoods rather. On the east, the yellow shaded area, those will be 90-foot lots. And on the west, the yellow shaded area, those will be 90-foot lots. On the east, the white shaded area, those will be 70-foot lots like the original plan. However, the difference now is that in addition to committing to 90-foot lots in the western neighborhood and 70-foot lots in the eastern neighborhood, we also are willing to commit and have provided written commitments to the Corporation Council to do only hardy plank cement fiberboard siding, no vinyl siding in either section. So even though it's permissible under the city's architectural standards, we're willing to take that next step up to make this all hardy plank siding. Yeah, the west side, let's talk a bit about your architectural standards. The Greenwood architectural standards are some of the most stringent in the metro area. One thing that they will do in this subdivision is require full first floor brick wrap on all homes that abut common areas, all homes that are on the perimeter, all homes that are on corners, and all homes that abut city streets. So this slide shows you that only the lighter shaded areas in each of those sections would not have to have brick, although they still could if that was the customer or the home buyer's choice. But all of the darker shaded yellow and all of the darker shaded green lots will be full first floor brick wrap at a minimum as required by the ordinance, and that is about 80% of the subdivision. Only those internal lots that back up to each other would be exempt from that. The western section, the yellow section, as we stated before, those are going to be 90-foot lots. That's equivalent to your R1 zoning standard. That's 72 total home sites. All of those homes will feature side load garages, 2-car garages, which with an option for a third carriage garage. Most of those plans have an oversized 30-foot deep garage. Price points in that area are going to start at $325,000 and range up to and perhaps over $375,000. On the eastern portion, those are 70-foot lots, equivalent to R2A standards, 150 total home sites. Anticipated price points there will be $290,000 to $340,000. And 6 of the 10 plans that would be offered in that section that comply with the city's architectural ordinance allow for a third car option. As I said, we are committing to comply. Obviously, we are required to comply with all of the city's existing architectural standards. In addition to those standards, we've taken the next step up of doing away with all vinyl and committing to hardy plank. The home sites will range in size from 1,800 square feet for the ranches up to 2,200 for those ranches, and then from 2,500 square feet to 3,500 square feet for the 2-story homes. We have some binders with what is actually just contained on these PowerPoint slides, but this will show you some of the potential elevations for the homes that are proposed to be constructed in this neighborhood. When we give you prices and elevations, obviously, we like to give our home buyers, our customers, some choices. So there are different options available to them, and I'm going to let Ty Reinhardt from Lennar run through these elevations with you real quick.
Yeah, we handed out, and those are, keep in mind, those are just a sample of our elevations. We actually have 53 different distinct elevations available. And then if you consider the variations in masonry color and different types of masonry and siding colors, there's several hundred options and variations that are available. The first 6 pages are what we're referring to as a cornerstone estate collection, which are the side load garages, and you can see also the third car carriage options. The last 6 pages are the cornerstone with the front load, which will be on 70-foot wide lots. And then you'll see a couple of photos, if we go from here, a couple of interior shots of some of our models, and it'll be very similar to what models that we'll be building there. And then Eric covered the square footage and the price ranges that we'll have in those different sections. And then Councilor Gibson asked me to get a photo of examples of homes that had full brick wrap on the first floor, both sides and back.
As I mentioned earlier, we've met actually twice with the surrounding property owners, and we've attempted to address their concerns. Some of the concerns were price point, the vinyl. They had concerns about drainage. We discussed with them that the engineering portion of this development, if we get to that point, will address the drainage then. It's a little premature in the zoning to do that, but we presaged for them that down the road, your engineering department in the planning process will require all of the measurements to be taken of the current flow from that, what is now a farm field, and that we will have to retain on site, given the calculations for the impermeable surfaces that will be added, that such that the outflow of stormwater from that site can't be greater than it is now. It, in fact, has to be less than. So it will actually improve the drainage in the area, at least as far as what is sheeting off of that farm field, what we can control within that 100 acres. We also discussed with them their concerns on traffic. As all of you know, Honey Creek Road recently was substantially improved from Whiteland Road up to Tracy Road, and there is currently a grant pending that the city has applied for and expects to receive that will allow for that improvement to continue from Tracy Road up past this development to Honey Creek. So we believe that the city is taking some proactive measures to make sure that what will eventually be increased traffic in the area is handled by the roads that are there. Ty met with Dr. Spray from Clark Pleasant. This is in the Clark Pleasant School District. They do not take a position either for or against development, but Dr. Sprague did indicate that there was sufficient capacity within the schools, and they were not concerned about the addition of additional children in their school system. The statutory criteria were laid out in the staff report. We went through those at the Plan Commission. There is no indication that the statutory criteria had not been met. We did pay reasonable respect to the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan calls for this area to be developed as single-family homes. The current conditions and character of structures and uses in the area. We have the Pines subdivision to the east of 125. It connects catty corner to the upper portion of this site. You can see there where the Pines connects on. And then, as I said, our site will go kind of east to west, increasing in price point, and we believe that makes a nice transition to what may eventually be and what currently is on the west side of Honey Creek Road, including the subdivision, the gated community that's already there, that's off to our northwest. The most desirable use for this land in each district, it's already been earmarked for residential development. This is not multifamily, this is not commercial, this is not any kind of use that's not compatible with the area. All of the other structures in the area are single-family homes. And the property values, that's another statutory criteria, conservation of property values. As we gave you the price points here, they actually increased substantially from the Pines and the other subdivisions that are in the area, with the exception of Stone Ridge, which is a gated $1 million home community, but that may be difficult to replicate in this area. In summary, we meet the statutory criteria that the council is supposed to consider in undertaking this proposal. This development with the latest concept plan with no vinyl is essentially R1 housing on the western portion, and it meets or exceeds all of the city's architectural standards, with home prices reaching into the high 300s. It's the right fit for the city, it's the right fit for this area, it's the right fit for Clark Pleasant Schools. The average home price in Clark Pleasant Schools currently is $128,000. So this will be a substantial increase over the average if we're in the mid to high 300s. The commitments that we've provided this evening, you have at your disposal to include in your ordinance. Those commitments are to be recorded and will run with the land. So the city is protected if Lennar for some reason doesn't develop this project the way they say they're going to. Whoever comes in next will have to adhere to those commitments we're making. Those include no less than 90-foot lots in the western yellow shaded area, no less than 70-foot lots on the eastern white shaded area, no vinyl siding, a cap on home sites at 222, which, as I pointed out before, is substantially less than the 249 that was originally proposed, and that this subdivision will meet or exceed in all other respects the city's architectural standards. So we would request that you carefully consider this plan, and I hope that you will reach an agreement with me that this is a great fit for this area. It complies with the comprehensive plan, and at these price points, we're going to be at or near the top of anything that's being built in terms of subdivision in the Clark Pleasant Schools. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer after.
All right, thank you.
Folks.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against ordinance 1837?
Good evening. I'm Linda Sargent, and I am here speaking on behalf of the neighbors in this area who oppose this project and this request. And first of all, I do want to tell Mr. Prime and Mr. Reinhardt, we do appreciate their efforts to work with us and hear our concerns and make these concessions. It is our opinion, though, it's just simply not enough for this area. And they are, as I've indicated, requesting to annex and rezone this approximate 100 acres. And the map is laid out where the boundaries would be. I think it is noteworthy that the Plan Commission gave it an unfavorable recommendation by a vote of 7-2. And so the Plan Commission has already heard a lot of the pros and cons. Mr. Prime is correct that this body, this legislative body, has to consider the criteria set out in IC 36-7-4-603. And so I've passed out notebooks or brochures that go through each one of the 5 criteria. And so first of all, the comprehensive plan. The surrounding properties consist of agriculture or residential zoning, and the homes in the immediate area are next door or right across the street from the proposed project. They're single-family residences. They're on large lots. Some of them are even on estate-sized lots. And all on Honey Creek Road, you'll notice, they're zoned R1. They're already zoned R1. Not R2, as the petitioner is requesting. And so that's in your notebook, that's on the zoning map that is included. Number 2 criteria, the current conditions and the character of the current structures and uses. All of the existing properties next to the proposed project or across Honey Creek Road are fully bricked, not brick wraps. They don't have cement blank. Most of the homes on County Road 125 West are brick as well. The homes sit on at least 1 acre, as I've indicated. Most of them are on multiple acres, 5 acres, 10 acres, 15 acres, some all the way up to 40 acres, estate properties. They have a minimum of a 3-car garage. Most of them have 4-car garages. They're professionally landscaped. They have privately owned ponds with fountains. They're on a private street or their own self-contained egress. Their market values range anywhere from $500,000 all the way up to $2.5 million. And I've included photos in that handout of the homes that are immediately connected to the proposed project. This is a home in Stone Ridge Estates. This is directly across the street from where this project is going in. The 3rd criteria is the most desirable use for which the land is adapted. The best way to determine the most desirable use is to look at what's already there, R1 zoning, estate property, custom-built homes on large lots and acreage, zoned R1. Also, we look at Greenwood's comprehensive plan for the most desirable use, which was adopted in December 17, 2007. Section 2, page 26 of that plan states, quote, recently the city of Greenwood has begun to require that new development meet relatively higher design standards. This practice is already having a positive effect on achieving developments that reflect the character and value of the Greenwood community. A trend that has the ability to continue to set Greenwood apart from the other suburban communities surrounding Indianapolis. Greenwood leadership, this body, the mayor, all of the administration has consistently said that there is a need and a desire for more upscale housing and executive level jobs to come into this area. This is a blank canvas for the city of Greenwood and should not be wasted. It's the last of some of the remaining bare acreage that is available for development. It provides a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Greenwood to realize its stated goals. The 4th criteria is the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. The best way to conserve existing property values is to continue the pattern that is already in place. If the property is rezoned, it should be rezoned R1, consistent with the homes and the estates that are already there. Petitioner has shown this body, this legislative body, several concepts of homes that it wants to build. But those pictures all showed nice big lots. And at least on the east side of this project, some of these homes will be 15 feet apart. They're not going to have those beautiful views that we saw out the windows of the homes that petitioner showed this body. And number 5, criteria of responsible development and growth. We again look to the comprehensive plan and the zoning map, but there are other considerations as well. First of all, the east-west corridor and its impact on this area. How much more traffic will that bring? The future use of the land on County Road 125 West by the Clark Pleasant School District. The school has more land south of the existing school that's already there. Traffic issues will arise because both of these roads are 2 lanes. This project will add a minimum of 500 more cars on that road at least twice a day. I don't know if any of you have driven down Honey Creek recently. It is crowned, and when it's wet, it's bumpy and it's a mess. Yes, it has been improved recently, but there's still a large stretch of it and that's why it's 35-mile-an-hour speed limit there. It's necessary. Another consideration is high-density residential areas do not pay for themselves. Petitioner's proposed lot side on the east side results in some houses being 15 feet apart. Is this responsible growth and development? There truly is a demand for high-quality homes. Honey Creek Road and County Road 125 provide an excellent opportunity to accommodate the need for Greenwood, as well as the Whiteland School District. In 2017, the Whiteland School District opened enrollment to students outside the district because parents were moving to other areas for better housing. I've included a copy of the article that was in the Daily Journal that shows that at the very back of the book. We have met with petitioner. We have tried to convince them to make all of the lots 90 feet wide, all of it to be R1. We appreciate that they now have done away with the plan for vinyl siding, but this is R1 zoning, and we are asking this board to deny their request. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against ordinance 1837?
My name is Alan Mathena, live at 6072 North, 125 West, just directly south of the proposed project. And so we've spoke with several of the neighbors that live on 125 West, and a few of them are here this evening, and we all are under agreement that we kind of feel a little bit looked down on that side, because we've got seems like when they did meet with us, they spent most of their time trying to satisfy what was on the west side rather than what was on the east side. So we all kind of feel like we've got some pretty nice houses on 125, which is on the east side. So that would require at least having the same lot size as what they decided to propose on the west side of the subdivision. So again, we live, most of us that are here, to the south of the proposed subdivision, and the roads to the north, Greenwood has widened, and they are nice and have been taken care of, but the roads to the south are going to be controlled by the county. And so there's going to be a lot of traffic. There's going to be a lot of traffic coming out of that subdivision going to the Whiteland schools, because the middle school and the high school lie over on that side. So again, I'll just kind of agree with what was just said, and we hope you vote this down.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against?
Before, Mr. President, if I may, anyone that's here against this, would you please raise your hand? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Rick Campbell. I live at 1122 West Stones Crossing Road. As I've said in the past before this council, I'm pro-growth, but I think it has to be smart growth. And what we've seen and what we're getting noted as, I'm a custom home builder, and I build in the Center Grove area. I build homes anywhere from 400,000 to over 5 million. I think there is a desire here in our area, and I think Linda is right that we have a prime area with prime ground here that we need to embrace and open up so that we can have corporations come in here that have executives. And those executives are going to want homes that are custom built, that are in that 400 and up range. And we don't have anything currently in the city limits of Greenwood. There's not one piece of ground that I have that I can bring a client to in the city limits of Greenwood right now as an executive, building an executive home, wanting a custom home at all. And what I would like to see happen is we work with the landowners in this area and any place that you want to try and annex into the city limits of Greenwood, and let's work together and try and build some higher end executive type homes so that when we come into this neighborhood, it's not filled up with production homes. Lennar builds a very good product. They did a great job at Cobblestone, but they have been bought out a couple of times in the last few years. You know, what's the next regime going to do when they come in? That's the thing that's not known. But I think there's a lot of custom builders like myself that would embrace coming into the city limits of Greenwood to bring upper end homes in and build. And I think we have a great opportunity with land here. We've got a lot of homes that are surrounding here, as Linda mentioned, and along Stones Crossing Road the same way, that we can build off of that. And I think there's a lot of potential here. I think there's a lot of people that do want to come here. We're seeing more businesses that are looking at Greenwood. That these businesses do have executives. And so I would appeal to you to at least give consideration of turning this down or revising it to R1 so that we can keep our neighborhoods consistent. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against ordinance 1837?
Carol Osterberg. I live nearly directly across the street from the Honey Creek Road section of this. I am not in the Stone Ridge $1 million and up house, but my life savings is in the property we have, and we have an acre, and my husband and I are retired, and the thought of the houses being 70 foot and 15 foot apart as we approach, probably selling our home is pretty discouraging. I don't think anyone is going, as when they see that density of building, is going to come and build more estate-sized homes. And so being at the end of our career, seeing property values, people not wanting to come and build larger homes and not being able to sell my home for what, some of these homes would sell for is quite upsetting. So I appeal to you to deny it.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wishing to speak for or against?
Dave Wolf, I'm a homeowner in Stone Ridge. I appeal that you deny the annex. I think when people from out of state or out of town move to the Indianapolis area, in Greenwood, there are too many subdivisions that are low-end vinyl villages, so to speak. And when people look in this area, they don't see, the executives don't see what they like, and they're moving north, they're moving to Carmel. And unless we start establishing guidelines and have some nicer neighborhoods, we'll never have the growth that, for example, Carmel has. So I speak against the annexation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else at this time? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any discussion on the council or any questions for anyone?
I move to amend to include the commitments made. Do I have it right? It's 90 on the Christian side and 70 on the Doherty side, or do I have that flipped?
It's 90 on the western end, which would be Honey Creek.
That's the easiest way to say it. The yellow shaded portion, the western portion, 90-foot lots, the eastern portion, 70.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Would you like to read them for Mr. Prime and see if he confirms that's what the commitments are that are being proposed?
That's what he said, so.
Okay.
So we have a motion to amend the ordinance to include the commitments that Lennar has committed to.
I'll second that.
Is that correct? We have a motion by Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion on the amendment?
Now that's, Mr. President, that was the question I was going to ask. Because I'm looking at the ordinance here and I don't see those commitments.
That's why
Well,
So that's why you're amending it.
Yeah, that's why we're amending it.
Well,
It's not-
I understand that, but that was a question, procedural question I had,
Yeah.
because I don't see it here. And I wanted to, I appreciate
If
Councilman
it's amended,
Hopper.
then it will be
Yeah, it'll be
amended
in
to
the final
include
copy.
it
And
in
then it
the
would-
ordinance.
They've got questions, so hand that back to me, Shelley, and I'll read it just so they know what we're doing. Thank you. Land shall be platted and developed in substantially similar manner to the concept plan attached here to and incorporated herein as Exhibit A.
That's
That looks like what you had here.
Yeah.
Western neighborhood shall be developed with no less than 90-foot wide lots. The eastern neighborhood shall be developed with no less than 70-foot wide lots. There should be no vinyl siding permitted in either neighborhood. Maximum number of lots to be developed will be capped at 222. All structures will be built in compliance with the City of Greenwood residential architectural standards design set forth in Exhibit B, attached here to and incorporated herein by reference.
All right, that's the motion by Mr. Hopper to amend, second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion on the motion to amend? Seeing none, roll call on the amendment to ordinance 1837.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dine,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Hill, Hopper,
Aye.
Lexi.
Ordinance 1839 is amended on a vote of 9-0. Any further discussion on ordinance 1837 as amended?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd just like to remind the councilors that what we're actually voting on here tonight is voluntary annexation, as well as change in zoning, which is very similar to what the county had. Unfortunately, it's mixed up in with what is going to be developed, or what the proposal for it to be developed. Unfortunately, that can't be separated. The actual vote here tonight is on whether we annex this land or not, and whether we change the zoning on the land or not. At least that's my opinion.
All right. Any other discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Couple of things. The city did improve Honey Creek Road by blacktopping it. That's what they're gonna do next year. Finish it out up to Curry Road, but they haven't widened the road to make access in to what you're wanting to develop. It's not gonna take the traffic that's being brought there. And then, is it Mr. Prine?
Prime.
You made a statement that the project is gonna meet the minimum required. Why are we getting the minimum here in Greenwood? Why are we not getting your best project? You said, we are doing this to meet the minimum requirements of the code and of the ordinance in Greenwood. Why are we getting the minimum rather than when you've heard that there are top ends? I understand you wanna make money. I understand that you wanna, have these houses where at this range because they will probably sell quicker than the other houses, but those were a couple of things I got, and it kind of bothered me that, the road is not ready. And by the time you do that, and as soon as you put your first construction trailer there, you're gonna have to patrol it with the police department, and the further we spread out, the further it takes away from the population of where a lot of the crime is up here. So those are concerns I have with the presentation, or that my questions need to be answered.
Well, let me try to address those one at a time if I can, if I remember all of them accurately.
I can repeat.
Yeah, please help me out. But with regard to the road improvements, it is typical for the city to require the developer to improve the roadways that are at their entrances from their property line to their property line by widening, by adding passing blisters, by adding ACell, decel lanes. Those things will come in at the platting process. Those don't typically come up at the rezoning process. But if you go back and look, and you can check with your planning department folks, but I'm not aware of any new subdivision that hasn't had to improve the road in front of their.
Well, I just wanted out in the open that this is, if it is passed, this is what's coming.
Yeah, and that's what is, I don't know of a situation where they have not required the developer to improve the roadway with ACell, decel, and if necessary, if traffic counts call for them, passing blisters within their area of control from the property line to the property line. So that would be on 125 and on Honey Creek Road for this development. I think you may have misunderstood what I said about minimums. That we are committing to adhere to Greenwood's architectural standards. Those standards are much higher than any other municipality in the area. So those are the bare minimums that the city requires. Maybe that's where the word minimum.
Well, I believe your words were that we are meeting the minimums that is required by the city.
Well, if I said that, then I misspoke. We are meeting the city's requirements. If you want to call those minimums, or if you want to call those a good floor for where things should start, that's fine. But this development will be higher than those standards in that there is no vinyl. Your ordinance allows for 0.047 gauge vinyl to be used anywhere. We have none of that. So that raises the price point of each of these homes by almost $10,000. And the concern, Mr. Dine, is if you go from the Pines on the east side of 125, those homes are in the 100 to low hundreds range, all vinyl. We then cross the street and we have to sell homes to people or make them interested in buying homes at what we're proposing is a price point of $280 to $350. That's a huge jump and no vinyl. So it's a transition as you get from what's to the east, transition to the 70-foot lots, transition to the 90-foot lots, which are R1 and the equivalent to cobblestone in terms of the size and style of the homes that are going to be built there. And that's what allows these projects to sell. If we try to put $1 million homes on 125 together by the school across from the Pines, those aren't going to sell. If you look at what we're talking about here, you can kind of follow the money, right? Where is the development? Where are the custom home builders building? Mr. Campbell said he builds in Center Grove. The Cobblestone subdivision is Center Grove Schools. Stone Ridge is Center Grove Schools. There is, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, a premium that has been attached to properties in Center Grove. This parcel that we're talking about here tonight is in Clark Pleasant, and it's on a flat piece of farm ground. Cobblestone, Stone Ridge are rolling home sites with walkout basements. They lend themselves to a higher price point. But please don't forget, and for some reason this project keeps getting tattooed as bad or entry level or whatever. We're talking about $300,000 to $375,000 homes. That's a big number. That's a big number for anybody. And in Greenwood and in Clark Pleasant schools, that's the highest price point there is in terms of a full subdivision. So this isn't minimum.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or any other discussion?
I have a question for our legal counsel. Did I understand correctly that if, with the commitments that we have on this, that the lot sizes cannot change and be any less, and there would be the same number of lots, a minimum of that number of lots?
Correct, it would be capped at 222, and the lots in the eastern portion would be minimally 70 feet, and in the western portion 90 feet. The only way that would change is if they came back and had a modification of commitments granted by this council, because you're the ones that placed the commitments on.
Okay, and what if we did not annex this and it stays in the county? What is comparable in the zoning then? It's agriculture now, right?
They won't build because they need our sewers, so it'll stay ag. Unless they put big houses on septics out there.
I don't think we could do septics. Okay, I'm just wondering if we were to turn this down, what might be built there in the county?
All right, any other questions or discussions?
I appreciate that you've sort of bifurcated the west side, east side, but I still am gonna vote no. Only because I try to be consistent. So I was against the Arbor homes that going on in Honey Creek. I was against Galvanic at Cutzinger. I just think this land should be for those big estates. So try to be consistent. So that's why I'm voting no. But I appreciate all the work that you guys have put in on it.
Any other discussion?
Is there any option to make the West End R1 instead of R2A?
We can't do that without changing the petition, and then we have to go back to the planning commission and start the process over. But the commitments that will run with the land will not allow for anything less than 90-foot lots. That is R1.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Anything else on the council?
Have you considered making the eastern part 90-foot lots as well?
It was discussed, and obviously that's what the demonstrators had asked for. Our concern, again, as I pointed out, was the transition moving from the really entry-level homes in the Pines through this subdivision to the eastern.
But looking at your map, I mean, it's mostly surrounded by, I mean, a corner it's R1, the other is R2B, but it's mostly farmland, which has not been developed yet either. So at this point, you don't know what's going to go there.
You can only rely on the comprehensive plan, and it calls for all single-family homes.
All right, any other questions or discussion on the council?
Mr. President, may I respond to anything?
No. All right, seeing none, then roll call on ordinance 1837 as amended.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Nay.
Foster.
Nay.
Gibson.
Nay.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Nay.
Lexi.
Nay.
Armstrong.
Nay.
Ordinance 1837 fails on first reading. Fails to pass. Ordinance 1840.
An ordinance vacating a portion of platted no-access easement, EMH&T, on behalf of Springs Edge Properties LLC, located at 800 Commerce Parkway South Drive, sponsored by Campbell.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Bates, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dine. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Ordinance 1840, first reading.
Dr. Wolf. Could you meet me outside in just a second?
Roll call. Ordinance 1840, first reading.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Ordinance 1840 passes first reading 9-0. Ordinance 1841.
An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Greenwood, Indiana, authorizing and establishing the boundaries of a municipal riverfront development project, sponsored by Dine, Foster, Gibson, Hill, and Hopper.
Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lexi, second by Mr. Hopper. Any discussion? Ordinance 1841.
So I wasn't here at the last one, but I did read the minutes. Somebody asked a question, Mr. Armstrong, about decreasing the value of their units. You said no, correct?
No, I told him that we didn't know what impact it would have. Since then, we've spoken to the folks at the state.
Yeah.
And these districts have been in other jurisdictions and it hasn't had an impact. The reason for that is you're talking apples and oranges. These are licenses that can't be transferred. They are not nearly as valuable as the traditional licenses that can be transferred. And I think the other part of that question is, would there be a problem with people trying to sell these and get these cheaper licenses? And I think Mr. Lexi had a good point when no, because the transferring a traditional liquor license is time-consuming, expensive, and uncertain. It would be a pretty dumb business move to do that.
All right, any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Ordinance 1841, first reading.
Dine.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Nay.
Bates.
Nay.
Campbell.
Ordinance 1841 passes first reading 7-2. Second reading, ordinance 1836.
An ordinance amending Greenwood Municipal Code 1993 as amended, Chapter 7, Building and Construction Regulations, Article 3, Miscellaneous Regulations, Section 745, Excavation Permit Required, and Section 746, Maintenance of Excavations, as well as providing penalties for violations of such ordinance, sponsored by Gibson.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second by Mr. Lexi. Any discussion? Ordinance 1836. Seeing none, roll call, second reading, ordinance 1836.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill. Hopper. Lexi. Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Aye. Ordinance 1836 passes second reading 9-0. Resolution 1824.
A resolution of the Greenwood Common Council to adopt a written fiscal plan for the annexation of approximately 100 acres located north of Tracy Road between Honey Creek Road and County Road 125 West, referencing annexation ordinance number 1837, sponsored by Bates.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hopper, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bates.
Procedural question.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna adopt the fiscal plan, doesn't mean you have to adopt the annexation ordinance, but you can't adopt the ordinance until after you've done the fiscal plan, so that's why. It's on second reading, you can pass it or not pass it, but it doesn't make any difference.
All right, we have a motion and a second on ordinance, or resolution 1824. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, second reading.
Gibson.
Nay.
Hill. Hopper.
Nay.
Lexi.
Nay.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Nay.
Dine.
Nay.
Foster.
Nay.
Resolution 1824 fails to pass on second reading. Ordinance 1838.
An ordinance amending ordinance 1811 in chapter 2, article 6, section 238 of the Greenwood Municipal Code 1993, designating no parking on Broadway Street when school is in session to correct penalty provisions, sponsored by Gibson.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second by Mr. Dine. Any discussion, ordinance 1838? Seeing none, roll call, the second reading, ordinance 1838.
Hill. Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Ordinance 1838 passes second reading 9-0. Ordinance 1839.
An ordinance transferring funds within the park fund from budget categories 336, $30,000, and 449, $50,000 to budget category 111, sponsored by Campbell.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bates, second by Mr. Dine. Any discussion, ordinance 1839? Seeing none, roll call, second reading, ordinance 1839.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Ordinance 1839 passes second reading 9-0. New business, introduction of new ordinances and resolutions, ordinance 1842.
An ordinance to establish a special non-revolving fund to administer restricted donation received for Combs Road Realignment Improvements Project, sponsored by Bates and Gibson.
Mr. Hodson.
This is a very simple ordinance. We have a developer who is required as part of their project to do some road improvements. It was not feasible to do the road improvements early in the project. It made more sense to have them done after the entire project was completed in order to ensure that the improvements are done. They're making a cash payment to the city that we need to treat as a donation and restrict its use to altering that road.
Any questions for Mr. Hodson?
Does that need to be done before the end of the year?
No.
All right, seeing none, then ordinance 1843.
An ordinance ordinance transferring funds within the general fund for the police department from budget categories 331, $5,000, 333, $4,000, 335, $32,000, 336, $14,000, and 337, $4,000 to budget categories 222, $50,000, and 229, $9,000, sponsored by Dime.
Chief?
Thank you. This is on the appropriation of funds, this is transferring funds. I've had an increase in gasoline consumption and use. And also when we moved into the Justice Center, supplies have upticked with the addition of the probation department into the building. So this just moved from the 300 series into the 200 series so I can use the funds.
All right. Any questions?
Any hurry? If we could suspend the first, it would help.
So moved. Motion for suspension through first reading by Mr. Bates, second by Mr. Dine. Any discussion on suspension? Seeing none, roll call on suspension of the rules, 1843.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Rules are suspended through first reading and voted 9-0. Do I have a motion for first reading?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion? Ordinance 1843. Seeing none, roll call, first reading, ordinance 1843.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Ordinance 1843 passes first reading 9-0. Thank you, Chief. All right, miscellaneous business. Anything from the council?
I have a question for Daniel. Eastbound Smith Valley Road, where the new apartment complex where they've paved, there's like this weird 45-degree left, back to the right. I noticed we put like some rock there. Are we gonna pave that? Cars don't, there's an odd angle that cars don't work that way. I don't know how else to describe it.
When it kind of pitches, you
Yeah, right. Cars don't go at a 45-degree angle straight that way. It's just weird.
I agree. It is weird. We have heard a number of complaints about it, that sudden shift. I know there's been an orange barrel there for a while. The street department did go in and put in some compacted aggregate just to try to help if folks didn't make that corner, that change as fast as they should. Unfortunately, we're kind of in a bind here. From a technical engineering perspective, I want to lengthen that shift so that it is more. It's not as abrupt. It's more gradual. It works more for what folks expect.
We should be going through that person's mailbox, right?
Well, that's one option, but, or would be to transition that shift starting a little earlier, so that we're not driving through the resident's mailbox, right? We want to avoid that. The key thing for the developers, on the developer side, they did build it per plan. So if we, the city, went back to restripe it, it would essentially void the warranties prior to us accepting that into our inventory. So our plan is that once we accept the road, accept the striping, get that cleared, we will then change it.
How long is that going to take?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Thank you.
While you're here,
Yeah.
while you're here, the status of all the road projects.
Sure. So the roundabout is open. Serena Way will be open soon. Madison and Emerson are all open to traffic. The roundabout, they have been working. The phase 2 portion of their Meridian has been closed. That should be open by the end of the week. That will be the end of the 30-day closure that the contractor was allowed when they made the shift from opening the roundabout phase 1 to phase 2.
Daniel, since you're there, I have another question. There are still a lot of left-hand right-hand turns are people that are going east on Smith Valley and turning north on 31. And I occasionally do see that the police are ticketing them, and I know someone can't sit there all the time. But how do we get people's attention?
There's two
Can
giant
we-
signs up there that say no.
I understand
As a
that.
driver, I must admit that I pay more attention. I'm sorry, I pay more attention to what's painted on the lane than I do on what's the sign. Can we paint the no left turn symbol on the lane,
Like
just like we do?
Or the interstates now, they put like Interstate 65, keep going in this.
Yeah,
lane,
so
and it says-
if it's a left turn lane, there'll be an arrow on the lane. I'm more geared to look for that. Can we do the no left turn?
It's an option to look into.
I think it would work.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that might work. All right, anything? Thank you, Mr. Johnston.
Oh, no. The lady at 1485 West Smith Valley, is her front yard gonna be resodded where they put the turn lane and tore down the brick post she had?
Well, the contractor will have to restore whatever area they have.
Okay.
And what's the timing of that?
Well, now that we're getting into cooler temperatures, they'll probably put down seed with some sort of erosion blanket. But other than that, the grass probably will not grow until next spring.
And if it doesn't grow?
Well, there is typically a maintenance guarantee that the contractor will be responsible for.
Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll have work to do these days.
All right, anything else from the council? All right, second opportunity for anyone from the audience wishing to address the council. If you wish to do so, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, other miscellaneous business, Corporation Council.
We do. We have a conflict of interest for Robert Stecker, who is a Greenwood firefighter paramedic, as owner of Bottoms Up, who may be contracted for the purchase of dive-related equipment or to provide related training services to the city of Greenwood from time to time. Please accept that. Public meeting so may be followed.
Motion by Mr. Hopper to accept, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That is approved.
That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, anything from the controller? Mayor's office? We are adjourned.